Hey everyone. So today I'm going to follow up on that collection video that I recently made regarding the collection that I purchased for $3,000. And you might have noticed watching the video that something seemed kind of off. And yeah, this video is going to pain me a little bit to make, but I wanted to let you know what exactly went on with that. So if you watch my other video, you would see that I purchased a collection of magic cards locally for $3,000. I bought it on the Facebook Marketplace. So what happened with that was I saw it advertised as that someone who had been playing for a long time was just getting out of the game completely and they wanted to sell their collection all in one go. And you see this pretty frequently, right? Like it's kind of like a cycle that Magic players go through sometimes is they'll kind of feel like the game is almost a burden and they'll kind of liquidate everything they own at once. But, a lot of times eventually they get back into the game anyway. But I assumed, that's what this case was. So in the pictures for the ad, I could see that it looked like the person was really into playing modern competitive, probably. There were several complete modern decks, lots of things like this, fetch lands, modern staples, good cards, these have value, right? So I I added up the value of what I could see in the photos to see how much it would be worth. And one thing that was mentioned in the ad was that the person had gone to some stores locally to get some offers, and there was currently an offer from one local store for $2,800. So, based on what I saw in the photos, that actually made sense. That to me, that seemed like what a store should offer for a collection like this. Typically, it will be if it's in cash, 50 to 60% of the value of the cards. So I figured, okay, if the store is going to pay that much, then I have no problem paying a little bit extra. So I figured I'd offer $3,000. So I contacted the person and let them know I could potentially pay $3,000 for the collection. They said, okay, they're gonna wait a week and see what other offers come in. Maybe they could get something better. So I said, that's fine. So I just kind of forgot about it, right? Uh, just went on with my business, and then I guess around a week later, yeah, this person contacted me again and asked if I was still interested in buying the collection. So I said, yeah, I'm interested. And then after this, what he said next, I guess it should have made me think more than it did, but at the time, it seemed still somewhat reasonable. So what he said was that he's going to be leaving the country for work shortly. However, his brother will take over the sale of the collection and deal with that for him. So he would give me his brother's contact information, and I could contact his brother and go through with the sale if I'd like. So I asked, for the contact information. I got a phone number, and saying it now, I guess it does sound kind of weird, but I sent his brother a message and I got a reply, and he asked when I would be available to come, to come look at the collection. He said that he would be available the next day, and if I'd like, I could come meet him actually in a police station there because there's, an area in the police station that's designated for doing large value deals. So since he suggested that, that kind of put me at ease a little bit. Like, I guess I just felt like if someone is going to suggest that we meet in the police station, then, probably they're not going to try and pull anything on me, right? But actually, I wasn't available to meet at that time, so we had to reschedule for the next day. And I mentioned to him that I would be driving in from a city that's about maybe a 50-minute drive away, so it would take me a little bit of time to get there. So he said that that day he would actually be visiting his parents in a town which is in between the two cities where we were located, and if I'd like, we could meet there. And that actually seemed pretty great to me because it would save me about half an hour of driving in each direction. So I said, yeah, that would work, and we could meet there. And it all seemed like it was going along pretty smoothly. So we ended up meeting at the designated area, and as soon as I met this person, he seemed super friendly and charming. It was, someone that's seemed really pleasant to be around. If this guy was a D&D character, his charisma would be completely maxed out, right? So he brought out the collection for me and let me start taking a look through it, and we got to talking a bit. He started, telling just friendly stories, like telling me about his brother and how his brother was super into the game and he had this massive collection that took up the whole room at their home, and how his brother would travel around to big tournaments and play in I guess Grand Prix. He said that he tried to play Magic once, but his brother beat him so badly that he quit after just that one time. And it was a pretty pleasant conversation. So seeing as this guy was so nice to be around, I guess that put me even more at ease, like really more than I should have been. And while I was looking through the collection, there were actually three specific cards that I was looking for, because in the photos there were pictures. I could see that there were three of the Battle for Zendikar expedition shocklands. There's one of them right here. I actually didn't find any of these in the collection while I was looking through it. I told him that I was looking for these specifically, and he asked, like, I guess that he didn't know so much about Magic, but he asked, which cards were I looking for. So I told him which ones, these expedition lands, and I said they're worth like maybe $200 to $300 each, and he seemed quite surprised at that. So I kept looking through them, but then as I was looking, I started seeing things like the force of will, things like there's some Mox Opals. There was a full playset of Mox Opals, and these are valuable cards, right? However, I did not see them in the photos. So even though I wasn't able to find the cards that I was specifically looking for, I did see cards of basically equivalent value, right? So I started thinking, you know what? Maybe I don't need to keep looking because there's good stuff in here anyway. So even if for some reason those cards are missing from the collection, it's probably going to be fine. Like the value should be there. And another thing is, since we were outside, it was quite cold out. Like it was very chilly that day. It's actually snowing right now. So, we'd been outside for a little bit of time, and I kind of wanted to just get home as soon as possible because it was uncomfortable to be outside. So I wanted to get back into the warmth. So I figured, you know what? Sure, I'll take the collection. It looks like it's worth buying to me. So I told him, yeah, I'll take it. And he asked, okay, was there an agreed upon price that I had with his brother? I could have tried to haggle with him, but I mean, honestly, I was fine with paying the full price that we had already talked about. It sounds kind of dumb to say now, but I didn't want him to leave feeling disappointed that he got less money than he was expecting to get. So he helped me load the cards into my car, and then I gave him the money. I paid in cash. So I gave him an envelope full of $3,000, and he just put it in his pocket without counting it. And it seems strange because it's such a high amount of money in cash, right? But I was able to look past this also because I've purchased many collections in the past. I've done lots of local deals and this kind of thing. Like I do this thing frequently, right? And it isn't really that uncommon for someone to not count the money that you give them. Like they just trust you, right? And every time prior to this, it has worked out well. So since it worked out well in the past, there wasn't really any reason for me to assume that it wouldn't keep working out well, right? So I just figured, okay, that's kind of weird, but sure, we said thanks, and then we both drove off. So after I got home, I unloaded the collection and started going through it more thoroughly. This is where actually, if you would like, you can see what happens for yourself at this point, because this is where I turned on my camera and started filming, because if you watch my content, you'll see that I like to make videos of me going through, like, opening products and doing randomize and things like that. So I figured this would be great for me to film also, so you can see what happens after this for yourself. But I I started going through it. I took apart the modern decks. They all looked great. There's lots of good cards in it, just like this. They were in a deck box and they were double sleeved, but that made sense to me also because the person was clearly a modern player. They went around to Grand Prix and right, like they looked like a grinder basically. So that was all well and good, and then as I kept going, eventually I found these cards, and That seemed a little bit strange to me because why would these random cards be in someone's modern collection just kind of sitting there, right? And, these are pretty high valuable cards. And so I took a quick, a closer look at them. And for some of these, at first, I thought maybe they could be real, but then, after taking just a closer look, it was pretty easy to tell that these are more than likely not real. So I just assumed that they're probably fake. And, I would get someone to verify it for me later. And if it's real, that's cool, but I'll just assume that it's fake. Uh, so I kept going through. I found these cards. I found this one, actually, this City of Brass. I thought this card was real. Even after seeing the rest of these, I still thought this was real because, you know, these ones you can see on the camera, they are shinier than regular Magic cards, and they do feel a bit different. So, but just by looking at it like far away in a sleeve or something, it's pretty convincing to be real. But you take a closer look, you can figure out it's fake. This one is kind of a step more towards being real than that. This one, shining the light on it like this, it does look shinier, but in person, on the camera you can see it, but in person, it's not that different from a real Magic card. And also this feels more real than these do. So I thought that this might actually be a real card. Kept going, saw things like this. Obviously, these are going to be fake cards. There's not just going to be a random beta Wheel of Fortune sitting in someone's collection, right? So this has to be a fake card. So these are the cards that I took out that I just assumed would be fake. But it didn't occur to me to check out any of these cards. Because this is also something that you'll see sometimes if you buy people's collections, is that occasionally they will have proxies of high value cards, like these cards. Like there was a collection similar to this that I purchased in the past, where everything was real, but there were a couple of fake cards that were very high value ones, and that just seemed normal, right? Because someone would want to proxy it. Like if they can't buy that, then they'll proxy it and use the proxy. And all of these cards fit the bill for that, but these ones did not. And so, out of curiosity, I decided to do a light test on these, just because since I figured these have to be fake, so I figured I want to take a look at just what the light looks like on these type of fake cards. So I can actually show you that right now. I'll do a light test for you. You can just do this with the light on your phone's camera. So just put it over top, and you can see the light. It's a very small light. It's dim and it's kind of dark, right? I'm gonna compare that to a real card. Look at this aggressive mammoth. This is a real card. Why would anyone make a fake of this, right? So we'll swap this out. There's a clear difference, right? This one is much more. It looks more white. It's more of it's coming through, and it's kind of like a bigger light, right? You can compare them again. So I was like, okay, so I guess that's what the light looks like through these fake cards. So then, out of curiosity, I took one of these cards and I was like, I wonder what it looks like through this. So then I compare it, and what do you know? The light looks like the fake one. Compare these two. That looks basically the same, right? So then I started taking more cards from this pile, going through them. And that's kind of where, the moment where my heart kind of dropped, right? I was like, oh crap, is this really happening? Is how many of these cards are going to be fake? So I had separated out all of the valuable cards, right? So I had this big stack of cards like this big. I started going through them all and just pulling them out and seeing, one after the other, these are all fake cards, right? So as it turned out, the fake cards in this collection, not only were they these and these, it was also this and all of these. Pretty much everything of value, right? All of these modern staples, all of these cards are fake. So they're worthless. And, you know, it's a little bit scary because, you see people talk about fake cards a lot, right? You see threads on Reddit and videos on YouTube about how you can identify a fake card, and I've seen these videos, and I've been playing Magic for years and years, right? So I should know what a Magic card feels like. And just quickly feeling this one right here, it feels like a real Magic card. You have to inspect it quite closely, and once again, on camera, it does look shinier, but in person, it's not really any shinier than a real Magic card. So this one, it's like there are different generations, and that's actually what it is, right? There are different generations of fakes. So, ones like this, these ones are more obviously fake. One like this, that's probably a different generation. It's a little bit more real than this, but it's still a little bit obviously fake. This one, this is where it gets a little bit concerning, right? Because it's really difficult to tell with this one. And then even further were the ones where they introduced the holofoil stamp, right? If I feel this and if I shine the light on it, to me, it's exactly the same as a legitimate Magic card. Like, another thing is that the printing, the quality of printing for legitimate Magic cards can vary so much that you'll often see people that are so convinced that they have a fake card, but it's actually a real card. So that brings another concern into trying to authenticate something. So, just by looking and feeling these, it seems the same to me, right? However, one thing I didn't think to try was feeling this little stamp. And what gives this one away is that the stamp here it's raised up. On a legitimate card, it's either going to be smooth or it's going to be a slight indentation. This one, the stamp is actually a sticker. If I tried hard enough, I bet I could peel this off. So that's one thing that gives this away. But outside of that, this feels and looks just like a real Magic card. So you pretty much need to do a light test in order to verify it, outside of this thing. And then you'll see there's other things like this. These fake cards are signed. I think this is probably a legitimate signature. And what I feel like the situation here was that this person was probably a pretty hardcore, Grand Prix grinder, and probably they played in the tournaments with these cards and even got them signed, right? Um, because if you're playing in a tournament, who is ever going to know that this is a fake card? How is that going to affect you at all, right? You can play the whole time and it's not going to make any difference, right? Even if you get a deck check, the judge isn't going to take these out and inspect them thoroughly, do a light test, right? So probably the person was playing with these fake cards for years in Grand Prix, and when they decided to get out of the game, they just, I guess, decided to take advantage of the situation of having all these fake cards that look real and try and sell them as real cards. Because as I found out, this person knew exactly what they were doing the whole time. All of this was, you know, perfectly constructed on their part to try and get away with selling these fake cards. And one thing I forgot to mention was that I was looking for 3 expeditions, right? But I never found them. I only found this one. So I had sent another message to this person's brother asking, maybe were there any cards potentially left at home that just got forgotten because the ones that I were looking for weren't there. But guess what? He never replied, right? So then once I found out that these are all fake, things started falling into place, right? Like it sounds, when I'm telling the story now, it's probably going to make me look pretty naive, right? But at the time, as things were unfolding, it didn't seem as it does now. So I'm left with all these fake cards, not getting any responses from this person. I decided to start doing some research, and as you may have guessed, this person had no brother. This person was his brother, and he has a history of doing shady things like this. And the reason why he's able to get away with it is because he's so charismatic, right? That's typically how you'll find people that are trying to take advantage of you is it seems like they want to be your friend, right? And I remember thinking at one point before I realized these were fake was that, hey, what if this person doesn't actually have a brother? What if, what if it was actually him the whole time? And I thought, yeah, I guess that could be possible, but if that's the case, then this guy has to be like the greatest actor ever, right? Because at no point did was there any, lack of confidence or any kind of questioning. Everything was so convincing, but looking back at it, everything was just so planned out. And there were a few people that had left some comments on my videos where I was opening or going through this collection and saying how some things seemed kind of suspicious. So, here I am following up, confirming their suspicions, right? In that all of these cards are fake. And I guess that what I want to do is let this video serve as a warning because, as I said, I had seen many videos like this. I'd read many stories about there being fake cards and people trying to take advantage of you and stuff. And I felt like I had a lot of experience in making deals like this because it's something I've done pretty frequently. So I kind of felt like I was above being taken advantage of like this, but clearly that's not the case. So I guess even if you feel like you know what you're doing, maybe you don't. I guess I didn't, and I guess even for things like this, like look at some of these cards that are fake. Things like Get Octig, that right now that's like what, like a $5 or $6 card. It's fake though. Even in here, there's see if I can find it. There are fake. There's Inquisitions. Obviously, the Tarmogoyfs and things like that. Wasteland, those are going to be fake. There, somewhere in here, there are fake Fatal Pushes. That's not an expensive card, right? Like, look at this. These are fake cards. So, even for a card like this, if you have any suspicions, just use your phone, use the light on your camera, and just do a quick like test. Like, even if it's awkward, just to verify it, right? Like, obviously, that's something that I'm going to have to do in the future. So if I can prevent something like this happening in the future, then that's something that is good that kind of come out of this situation. And I'll also point out that fortunately, this is not a total loss because while these cards are fake, there are a significant amount of cards in the collection that are real, that do have value. So I do have this stack of cards, of some cards that have value, and these are real. And I've quadruple checked all of these, comparing them to make sure that these are all fake, making sure that I didn't miss any that are real or put any fake ones in the real pile. So I've made sure that these are all real. And fortunately, there is some stuff that has value here. Actually, you'll see the cards that are fake. They're all from, I think the newest ones are from Modern Masters 2017. From this, I think that's the newest one. Anything newer than that, I'm pretty sure that they're all real. Like, those are all real cards, right? So there is actually some good stuff. Things like this. There's a whole playset of Finale of Devastation. This card, it has become pretty valuable recently. Probably when this person was playing, I bet this was like maybe worth $15 or something. Worth more than that today. So I am happy that it's not a total loss. Here's something that surprised me. Collected Company. This playset of Collected Companies is real. These are ones that could have been fake. They fit within the time period. One of the surgical extractions is real. There are two, one or two that are fake. One is real. Is it From the Vault card? That's real. What else? Here's also like there were two big 4,000 count boxes that had like commons and uncommons, like full sets of commons and uncommons of sets from like Return to Ravnica, War of the Spark, goes back to like New Phyrexia and things like that. And all those cards were real, and fortunately I was able to find some value in those things, like Pitiless Plunderer. That's a really valuable uncommon. There was actually a foil Pitiless Plunderer, so that was pretty great. So I was able to find some value there too. There are some real Fatal Pushes here, the promo ones. Here's another one that surprised me. Noble Hierarch. There's a whole playset of Noble Hierarchs that's real, so that's cool too. And actually, this one is real, Sword of Light and Shadow. Here's the one that surprised me the most. These Horizon Canopies are real, and during the time this person was playing, that's when these were really expensive, right? That was when this was a $60 plus card. But, I mean, I'm happy that these are real. There was actually an Odyssey Squirrel token. That's a pretty valuable card today. Some Veil of Summer. Here's something that I pulled out of some Chain of Smog. That one just went up recently, right? So that's cool. Here's some cards I pulled out of the bulk box. There were 8 Tatyovas. That's valuable uncommon. And another thing is part of the collection included this box of Dominaria, sealed. You can see it's beat up. However, I have checked this pretty thoroughly, and I'm convinced that this is a legitimate box. It's just that it's been banged up a bit. I bet what happened with this is because the person seemed to be a tournament grinder, I feel like they probably won this in a side event or something like that and chucked it in their backpack and then just went around the whole weekend like that. And that's probably how this got all beat up on the corners, was from being banged around in their backpack. And then there's also, I think, like 16 packs of Dominaria here. I've also checked these to make sure that they're real. Actually, here's something I can do. This isn't really going to prove anything unless I get really lucky, but I'll open up one of these and, you know, this chances are there's not going to be anything valuable in it anyway, because, you know, 90% of the booster packs that you open from any set don't have anything valuable in it. But I'll just take a random one. I'm going to open up one of these, but, you know, I've inspected these to make sure that they're not resealed or anything, and once again, I'm convinced that these are real. So thankfully, that is something that also that I get out of, you know, out of this collection where I got scammed on. So let's open this up. You can see, yeah, that doesn't seem resealed at all. So, you know, let's see what I can get. There was the uncommon legend. These all seem real, obviously. There's a seal away. Cabal Stronghold, that's a good card, right? So, look, even a foil opt and a Halar. You know, nothing huge in this pack, but this is actually a pretty decent pack. So, you know, I'm happy to get something out of it, right? These cards that are real, as well as these Dominaria packs. And then also, usually I don't assign value to things like this, but there were a whole bunch of sleeves which looked like they're in nice condition and they're nice sleeves. So I've got sleeves for days now. I've got probably like 400 of the same sleeve. I'm going to use those. I'll put my commander decks in them or something, but there's that. There were 3 playmats. There were some nice deck boxes, some Ultimate Guard Sidewinder things, some things like that. So those will help me to recoup some cost. It's not going to recoup the whole cost. Those things, even this box of Dominaria, this stack of cards, that's not worth $3,000. But I guess it could be worse than it is, and I basically, you know, got sort of an expensive lesson here, but hopefully I can, you know, prevent this from happening to someone else and me in the future, right? And the monetary loss sucks, right? But it's I almost feel like what sucks more is just the feeling of being deceived. Like, I prior to this I had just trusted people that I was dealing with, and like I said, every time in the past it had worked out just fine. It was always a pleasant experience. And this is, you know, the first time where someone is, you know, being deceptive and gone out of their way to basically screw me over. So I guess that I've, you know, lost some trust in people that I don't know, but, you know, I'll just have to be a bit more wary in the future. So that's the story of what happened with that large collection that I bought. You know, I still plan to do collection videos in the future. I'll just, you know, be more wary, but I'm looking forward to doing more in the future. So I'll have videos up for those when I find some interesting things for you. So if you're still watching, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully you've learned something from my experience here. But anyway, thanks, and I'll talk to you later.